Good evening, and welcome to another installment of Nodak Outdoors Weekly. My name is Jordan Thompson, and today I have my good friend and fishing mentor, Zach Bernerian, to talk a little bit about himself, a little bit about the great sport of fishing. It's nice to have you here, Zach.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so as some of you followers of Zach's out there know, or you just saw in the beginning clip, Zach has his own YouTube fishing channel, and he goes by the name of Nodak Zach. There he posts videos of him, his friends, and his family having a great time and catching fish. It's a good follow. You might want to look it up. But let's start from the beginning here. What do you think is your first memory of fishing?
Thinking back, I'd probably say I know I have lots of photos of fishing when I was young, but the best memories I have was after the flood of '97 here in Grand Forks. Our family moved down south of Florida where we have other family, and I have a lot of memories of going down by the local canal and doing some fishing there. I remember we used to just use little pieces of bread and we can go off and catch little sunnies one after another. So that's probably my first memory.
All right, all right. So, you think you think your family then was had the strong influence on you to like really get into the fishing sport?
I would say, and just thinking back now, when I was fishing in Florida, I have two older brothers. So when I was fishing, I remember when I was catching those sunnies, first memory that comes back to me when I was young was I happened to catch a snapping turtle one time, which I thought was awesome. Well, I kind of walked it back to our backyard because we had a pond, and we'd say, well, let's put this turtle in our pond. Well, then I was too scared to take the snapping turtle off the hook, so I asked my brother to do it, and the turtle bit him. So that was pretty funny. And from that day forward, I really liked fishing. But beyond that, too, just having two older brothers, I think growing up in the '90s, there wasn't social media,
Yeah.
there wasn't playing on your phones or computers. So we'd go ride bikes, we'd go down by the river. And when you're down by the river, I don't know if we saw people fishing or if we just had the idea, but we did a lot of fishing down by the river. And, we'd catch catfish and other kinds of fish. And again, just thinking of memories, another time we were fishing and my brother went to cast and he threw his line back and I had felt this really stinging sensation in my eye and I thought the hook had hit my eye. So when he was about to go forward, I thought he was going to rip my eyeball out, but it turned out it was a bee sting that happened to just sting me right on the inside of the eye. Um, but beyond that, just having two older brothers and my dad coming from Florida and myself being born in West Palm Beach, Florida, fishing's just always been a part of growing up, I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, so strong influence. With I guess I mean those great stories that you just had right there. I mean, is there any story that could even remotely top that, or what's your favorite memory?
I don't have a great memory. That's why I take lots of photos. That's another reason I love fishing is because you can take photos and have those memories. But I guess if I were to think back to what my best memory would be, my dad and I share the same birthday. It's September 16th. And for one of his birthdays, he went to Cabo, Mexico with his wife, and someone else backed out. So he invited me to go with since we have the same birthday. And if you're not familiar, September 16th is Mexican Independence Day. So, pretty big party going on in Mexico, but we got to go fishing. I got to catch dorado, tuna, sailfish, and the biggest fish that I've ever caught, and bigger than most people probably will ever catch, was a marlin. It was around 280 pounds.
Holy
And it was really cool too. People always ask, do you eat it? And I guess it's not really a fish that people eat. But while I was catching this fish, it took about an hour to reel in. And when they come from hundreds of feet below the surface and they come up too fast, sometimes they die, and that's just how it works. But the cool thing was, is we were able to one, bring that fish in to take pictures with, which is great for me. But two, they ended up donating that fish to a local orphanage, which is almost, well over 200 pounds of food for the kids in Mexico. But the funny story, probably one of my favorite memories, I guess, beyond catching a near 300-pound fish, was while I was fishing. And like I mentioned, it was Mexican Independence Day, so um, I dabbled in a few drinks, if you will, in Mexico on Independence Day, one or two Coronas. And so it was a rough morning. You know, you go fishing out in the ocean with big waves at about 5 in the morning, and it's about 100 degrees. And where I'm in this fighting chair, fighting this almost 300-pound marlin for almost an hour. And I look over to the helper, and I said, "Hey, can I get some water? Can you pour some water on me? Because
Yeah,
I'm dying over
understandable.
here. It's been 100 degrees. It's middle of the day." And I look out of the corner of my eye, and he picks up the bait bucket. Now there's no bait left in there, but it's the bait bucket, and it's pretty close to being brown water. Definitely wasn't clear. And he goes to lift it towards me, and I thought he was joking. But then he proceeded to pour this stinky brown bait water all over me. It was a horrible smell, and it really threw me off. But it was a terrible stench. And I'll look over and I was like, "Man, there's 60 bottles of water right there." And he says, "Oh no, no, that's drinking water. That's good water. We don't waste that water." So I had old stinky bait water poured on me. So that was one of my favorite memories. And then the fact that I caught, a 280-pound marlin will be one of my best memories for fishing.
I was gonna say probably a lifetime catch, and
Yeah.
then you get a nice little stinky bait bucket on you too to top it off. It's a pretty good story. Let's see. So we talked about your memories. Pretty good stories. Let's see. What are I mean, other than like good times with people, and these memories, what are some of the reasons that you put so much time and, quite frankly, money into fishing? Because I know it can be expensive, and you're like pretty much like spend your time out on the water, the ice, and you can be away for days or hours. I know you go up to Lake of the Woods, and that's weekend deals. So
Yep, it is tough, especially for myself now. I have a wife and a kid, so it's a little harder to get away. It's a little harder to spend the money. It's a little harder to be gone for multiple days at a time. So I really have to plan ahead, whether it be, Minnesota fishing opener, whether it be tournaments. But as far as going back to the question, I guess, why I like fishing, you referred to it and you already said there's open water, there's ice. So I think one of the cool things is it's anytime, anywhere. So it's in the middle of winter, it's in the middle of summer. I can be here, I can be traveling, I can be North Dakota, Minnesota, Florida, Montana. I mean, any state, any place in the whole world, you can go fishing. Um, I'm guessing there's probably fishing within an hour of anywhere you're at in the world. So that's just one of those benefits to me that no matter where I'm at, you can always go fishing. Where, hockey or basketball or any of those other sports, that may not be the same thing depending on what season it's in. I guess there's a lot of reasons that I like fishing. Um, you know, I thought about this a lot because you have a lot of time when you're fishing to think about things, which is another reason that I enjoy it. So if I were to think about the things that I like about fishing, a few words came to mind. So I tried to think of an acronym to help me remember what those might be. So the first was competitive. I was born, I think, as a competitor. I have a competitive spirit, and fishing is one of those things that you can be competitive. And I mentioned anytime, anywhere. Well, there's also anyone. So it doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter your race, religion, your age, whether you're a child, whether you're a grandpa, anyone can do it. I play every sport. I've played basketball, hockey, football. I've been in boxing, karate, all those things. But fishing is the only thing that no matter if you're young, old, big, small, American, Canadian, German, none of those things matter when it comes to fishing. And myself being 5'6 3/4, that's one of those things where that doesn't matter. That may matter going into football. It may matter playing basketball. Fishing, it doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. How much money you have doesn't matter. Where you grew up, any of those things. So that's one of the things that I enjoy. And to have that competitive mentality is a big part of it. Number two would be outdoors. I love the outdoors. I think a lot of the kids nowadays spend a lot of times inside. I think you can attest to whether it be hunting, fishing, just being outside to breathe that fresh air, being out in the forest, being out near water, whatever it is, people are drawn to the outdoors. With that being said, outdoors comes primitive, was another word I thought of. Since the beginning of time, people fish. You have to eat, you have to catch food. Playing sports is a game. Fishing, for some people, it's a way of life. That's how people survive. because they're catching fish and that's what they bring home. If they don't catch fish, maybe they don't have food to feed their family. Um, Beyond primitive, education. It's one of those things where you can study fishing. I can read magazines, I can watch YouTube videos, I can learn from my uncle, my grandpa, from my neighbor, from anyone else. So that's one of those things where you can always learn, and it's not just shooting free throws or hitting slap shots all the time to practice. You can study it, but you can in other sports too. But there's so much information with fishing that if I study the rest of my life, I won't get it all. Last two is relaxing. It's one of those things where it's very relaxing to be out there, whether you're out on a nice day, even if it's raining. It's one of those things where the worries that you have at home in your personal life, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, doesn't matter. It's relaxing. You can be with a friend, you can be by yourself, and it's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other R, and I'll go back a step too, and I'll mention when I was thinking about those words, I was trying to think of an acronym in which I could remember some of these things as far as what I want to cover for why I enjoy fishing. And when I thought of those things, competitiveness, outdoors, primitive, education, relaxing, last one is lifelong. I'll come back to that. But that comes out to say COPE, RL, which that was cope for real life, which kind of like what I was saying, it helps a lot of people cope. So going back again to relaxing, the other R word that I had was recovery. For myself, being from a small town and having lots of friends who maybe didn't have a great upbringing or maybe weren't as fortunate growing up, whether it be through school, whether it be their family. Some people maybe were on the wrong path, but I know lots of good people who are trying to get on the right path and who are trying to live a good life. And that word is recovery. Fishing is a great sober activity that I know a lot of people do as an alternative to, whether it be drugs, alcohol, any of those things where, fishing is a sober activity. You can do it with your family, you can do it with your kids, and you don't have to do those things to get that excitement. There's not a lot of things that can give you excitement catching a fish.
Wow.
And someone who's in recovery, that's a huge deal.
It's a rush.
And the last one was lifelong. Sometimes I compare it to golf. I know you play golf, and two reasons. One, it's a lifelong sport like golf, where it's going to take a lifelong journey to learn all the things. But also, we can play until we're 50, 60, 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us like hockey. I'm guessing we're not going to be out there playing hockey when we're 65. We may want to, and we may try, but we also may break a hip. Fishing, there's lots of people who are 60, 70, 80 out there still fishing. It doesn't take as much physical as you can use your mental and that lifelong experience that you have.
Yeah.
That's where I try to learn a lot of information is from older folks. And again, like golf, it's one of those things where it doesn't take too much and you can play it for a lifetime. So those are my main reasons.
Maybe a few more luxuries when you get to that age, I guess.
Yeah.
You're gonna get your nice house or something you can drive out there, just like in golf. You're gonna have your cart no matter what. You're probably not walking the course.
Well, for
You're
sure.
definitely getting
And
those luxuries.
It's time and money too. As you get older, whether your kids move on, whether you have the money to be able to afford a boat or maybe, a nice ice house or those things where you can drive up to an ice house, step inside, fish for a couple hours and leave compared to making an all-day trip. Or just having the luxury of having the time to go to a lake. Maybe you're not working 60 hours a week so you can get out. So definitely that's one of those things where as you're younger, you can build up to that and look forward to getting older compared to other sports where your time is just slowly going downhill because your body can't do the same things you used to be. Whereas looking ahead, I think I'm going to be a better fisherman in 30 years than I ever have been now. Whereas I'm probably a better athlete in basketball, hockey, football than I will be in 20 years from now.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the cope for real life, and I really think like amateur sports or sports in general. It's like you have your real life, and then you just you use sports. You get away. You get to compete. You get to just take your mind off of like the worries, and that's a great thing that I feel like sports brings to the world or real life, coping in real life. A
lot of people go through a lot of tragedies or just real life struggles, and you look at TV and their ratings, and no matter what's going on, they're still always going to be high, whether that's Olympics, whether that's the NFL, NBA, all those things. It's an escape for people, and it's the same for fishing. So
Yeah, I know. In let's see, your first letter of the acronym is you had competition. What kind of what kind of competitions are there in fishing?
there's a lot. I mean, starting from I'll go backwards. I'll go from the top. I mean, there's national tours. Bass fishing is the biggest thing because that's something that's all across the country as far as the United States goes. You're not going to see walleye fishing in the South because they're a cold water fish. So bass is going to be the big one. So you're going to have national tours for that. A step down, they're going to have some national walleye tours, which is more the Midwest. Go down from there. There's going to be some pro tournaments throughout some of those bigger lakes. Depending on the different species, there's lots of different professional leagues that you can be involved in, but it goes all the way down to leagues. I mean, speaking for myself, in the town here, there's a catfish league, and that's every Wednesday. You can compare it to a bowling league or softball night. It's just 20, 30 guys getting together just to have something to look forward to. We go out one night a week and we throw in $15 per boat. So you got 20, 30 people and you go out there, and then the top two teams take home that money. So that's still competition, which is cool because fishing is a hobby. It's relaxing, and it can be that in one way, but it can also be let's go out there and let's win some money. Whether that's for the financial gain or whether that's for someone like myself who just really enjoys that competitive nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to catch a fish. If we were to go out tomorrow and catch some fish, it would be awesome and we could take pictures. But it's on a whole nother level to go out and fish and be fishing for money against 20, 30 other people, most of them who have been fishing for a long time and consider themselves to be good fishermen. And we go out and we catch a monster, we go back in and we win $200, $300, $400 on just a random weeknight. And then we get to look at all those, 20, 30 other guys and say, I was the best fisherman tonight. Whether they have the nicer boat, whether they have two sets of electronics and a $50,000 boat compared to my cheap little boat with minimal electronics. That's one of those things too, is fishing's affordable. It's kind of like soccer. That's why it's world famous.
Can
Fishing,
be affordable or
yeah, you definitely can
extreme.
spend a lot of money. But it's like soccer where, anywhere in the world, people can do it for cheap. You can use a stick, piece of line, and a hook.
Yeah.
I've done that too, just to challenge myself as far as that primitive goes. But for those competitions, it's anywhere from the top level all the way down to just some guys getting together just to get out one night a week and throw $10 on the line, $15, 20, whatever it may be that night, and to just compete against each other. And if you happen to be one of those top guys that night, you come home with a couple $100. Then it makes spending that money that we talked about not so hard because we can put that money back into fishing instead of your hard-earned money from your day job, which 99% of fishermen have as a day job. So,
yeah, I mean that'll help. I know you. Let's see. I've watched some of your videos, and I've spoken to you. I've seen your boat. I've seen like the outfit you wear, and I see you got like some patches and names on your shirt. Like, does fishing at this like level, your level? I mean, like, what does that entail? Like, what are these patches? They're just like people you've included, or do they actually like you gain something from sponsorships at this level, or
that's the tough part of fishing, and where I'm at now. Again, with having a wife and a kid, I'm not going to be out pursuing sponsorships and big time tournaments as I would had I had the time and the means to do so. But for me, I think I went around to a few businesses of people that I know personally and said, how can this be mutually beneficial? So for example, there's one place that has they do radios, they do trailer hitches, they do things that involve stuff with boats and fishing. So I said, hey, here's the deal. I do a lot of tournaments. I have a jersey. I can throw your logo right here, and I can help advertise for you. In return, you can help do some work on my boat. This last year, I had a backup camera installed for when I have friends who maybe aren't so good at it. Back up the boat a little bit easier. I say when I'm out there, and whether I'm making videos or whether I make the paper for a win, your logo will be right there, and I'll throw your name out. So that's one of those things where I'm not out there looking for money, and I'm not at that level yet, to be honest. But if that's something in the future where I decide to go a little harder, then that's the way a lot of fishermen get paid, similar to some other sports where it's not about, you know, whether it's Olympics or anything else, it's not about making money in those competitions. It's about the endorsements after the fact.
Yeah.
So if I were to get into it a little deeper, then that's something that I would do, and that's something where you have to get those wins under your belt in order to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, you know, I did finally get a few wins under my belt, so it made it that much easier to go to a business and say, check out this trophy, check out this article in the paper, check out this outdoor magazine that I'm in. I can have your logo on me, and I can mention your name on social media or whatever else to drive their sales, because that's all they care about. They don't care about
No, yeah.
they don't care about, you know, me per se or anything else. They want to see you win, and they want to see their logo and their name come up on social media and searches, and they want to see sales from those things. So until you can provide a reason for them to say giving this person money will increase our sales, you're not going to get much from them. So
Yeah,
that's where
I
I'm
mean,
at now.
kind of like an investment, you know.
Yep.
You care about the product doing well. You brought up, I guess you brought up like, you know, how you're in league, and I know you've like I've seen some videos, and I know you've won a couple times doing that, and then but you brought up tournament wins. Like what have you won for tournaments? Like what kind of tournaments?
Guess I've been doing tournaments probably for 10 years now. I've just started with some local ones that they do here, and I've had a couple top 10 finishes, but I never thought too much. It's always been a hobby. But after getting into it more and realizing, you know, as I go on through life, whether this is a hobby or whether this is something I want to pursue, I love competition. You know, we're here talking about sports, whether it's, you know, I mentioned hockey, basketball, football, boxing, karate, any of those things. I just love to compete. I never say I'm that great at anything, but I like to win, as a lot of people do. So when it comes to tournaments, I love tournaments. So whether I, you know, I may or may not try to ever go pro, but I'm always going to do tournaments. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where that sponsorship came in, to do those tournaments. So throughout the last 10 years, I've been starting to do those tournaments, and I've been trying to get into more. So, for example, in 2019, started off in January with an ice fishing tournament, and this tournament had over 2,000 people in it, and I managed to get first place. So that's awesome. I won't claim 100% skill, just the way that layout is at, and we can talk about that later if you want. But I'll say it's about 40% skill, 50% luck, and 10% location on as far as that ice fishing tournament went. So I started out with that win. Then I've had some league wins and some contest wins as far as getting trophies, getting money. I've had, you know, just this last year, I had two different wins that accounted for over $1,000 each, which was great. And then for the first time, I did an open water walleye tournament just to test the waters and get ready for possibly getting into bigger tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So during this first tournament, I told my partner, I said, let's go out there, let's have fun, let's try to learn how this works. Let's do our best. Maybe we do all right. Maybe we break the top 10. Maybe we get, you know, 50th place. Doesn't matter. Let's go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had a pretty phenomenal day. We ended up getting first place.
Wow.
So, you know,
You're like first ever, like open
first
water.
ever open water walleye tournament. We got first place out of a large group of people, many professionals even in there too. Again, I won't claim all skill, because there's always going to be a little luck in there. You have to know what you're doing. You have to have the right setup in order to let that luck come into play. 'Cause if you're out there with a completely wrong setup and you're not fishing correctly, whether it be the lure, the bait, the depth, the location, any of those things, if you have all those, you know, from there it can be luck. But
Yeah.
you're not going to let that luck come into play until you have all those things prepared
Yeah.
properly. But for that to just come out with that win was pretty awesome. So again, beyond that, a walleye tournament ice fishing first place, a walleye open water first place. For catfishing, we have two different sections of the river, and this is some of the best catfishing in the whole country. People don't realize right here in Grand Forks. So that's split into north and south sections of the river. Well, at the beginning of the year, everyone throws in $100 and says, "Biggest fish of the north wins $1,000. Biggest fish of the south wins $1,000."
Yeah.
And there's, I think it's um, around 150, maybe 200 people fish that league throughout the summer. And somehow I ended up getting the biggest fish of the north and the biggest fish of the south on the last night for $1,000 each. So again, I'm not going to claim all skill, but right place at the right time, the right setup, doing the right things,
Yep.
and good things will come out. So I don't consider myself better than a lot of those guys because a lot of them have more skill, more experience, better technology, a lot of those things. But that's another great thing of fishing is, if I were to go out in a basketball game to play against someone who's a lot better than me, 99 out of 100 times he's going to beat me. If I go and fish against the best fisherman in the world, I may beat him 15, 20, 30 times out of 100 because, like, that there's luck involved with fishing. There's a lot of skill and preparation, but there is luck, and it could go to anyone in any day. So there's a lot of that mentality of you have to be hopeful, you have to stay positive, and you just have to want to win, and that's what I think I bring to the table.
Awesome. I mean, that's like a lot of. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. That I suppose that few grand went towards that nice new boat you got.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier, with the wife and taking the time away from her and the kid. Is I'm not spending our hard-earned money on fishing. I said, let me do a couple of these tournaments. Hopefully, I do well, catch some good fish, win some money, and I use that money for some of that fishing expenses that come to getting those proper electronics, that proper boat. But I would call myself a good husband because I'll take some of that money and I bought my wife some nice things. Go out and get yourself whatever purse you want to buy. Go ahead and get yourself that new MK jacket that you want. Let's get you a nice stereo in your car, whatever.
So. Video here, you're saying that, like, shout out to Kristen.
Yeah, there you go. I got to do that so the wife will allow me to continue to fish because it's a big sacrifice for any sports, for the significant others, for the family. I mean, if you look at the great professionals in the world, whether it's Kobe Bryant, LeBron, any of those sports, they're going to be the first to admit that they've been selfish in a way that affects their family, that they could have spent a lot more time with their family, but they're out pursuing their dream, and it's the wives and the children who put up a big sacrifice for us to do those things that we enjoy. So I always make sure to split somewhat close to half of those winnings. With my better half.
Okay. I guess we bring up electronics and the boats and doing whatever, but like, I guess the people trying to get into fishing for like the beginning, maybe they have like a friend, like I could hop in with you, or you're just going off the riverbank by yourself or whatever. I mean, just like that, the beginner, like, what do you have any solid advice or strong advice to like the newbie? Maybe myself, trying to get a little something, catch some more fish here.
And fishing's cool for a lot of reasons. That it's very easy to pick up. It's very easy to go to your local fishing store, if you want to call it your sporting goods store, and say, hey, I'm going to this body of water. Can you tell me what's going to work? That's what people have done in the past. They've also gone to their uncle, to their dad, to their grandpa, to their aunt, to their sister. It doesn't matter, to say, hey, I know you've gone fishing there. I've seen pictures of your fish. Can you come and show me how to do it? So that's the first thing I would recommend, is finding someone who knows how to do it and just tag along. People who are fishing are always happy to take other people fishing. With that being said, that was pre-2000. Now it's pretty easy for anyone who's never seen a fishing pole before to go on Google or YouTube and learn what's the best way to fish. You could watch a couple hours of YouTube videos and probably be a better fisherman than someone who has been fishing for years but has never done any of that research. Some people may go out with a hook and a worm and may catch fish, but if you go onto YouTube, you're going to learn from the experts, from the professionals. Again, when you're talking money and you're talking endorsements, that's a big part of what professional fishermen do nowadays, is make those videos online to teach the average Joe, to teach those beginners, to get more people into fishing. Because if I were to go on a video, let's say I'm a big professional famous guy, and I say, here's the deal, you want to go fishing, here's what you need, go buy this go buy this brand of a lure, go buy this fishing pole, and this is what you're going to need to catch those big fish. They go out and buy it from that store, and that's how that fisherman's getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, first recommendation, if you have a friend or a relative who knows how to fish or who goes fishing, tag along. It'll take one day for them to teach you how to do it. And you don't have to buy all the equipment and everything you need right away. Just get the basics, learn how to do it from there, and then you can always accumulate stuff after that. But my advice would be just go once because you're going to enjoy it. Now, after saying that, you may not every time because a term people use in the fishing world is you might get skunked, you might not catch anything. So don't let that discourage you because another thing people say is they call it fishing and not catching. Because you're out there, you may try real hard, you may do everything right, and you may be out there for 4 hours and you may catch 0 fish. That's part of it. But like they say, you can't enjoy sunshine without rain. So you can't enjoy catching a whole bunch of fish or even one big fish if you don't have those days where you're not doing great. Otherwise, it's going to get old. But that's my advice. Find someone who knows how to fish or just go online. It's pretty easy nowadays to do research.
Yeah, 0 fish days. That's pretty much me going ice fishing.
The third one they say too
a guide
is
or electronics.
First day of fishing is better than the best day at work. Is that how it goes?
I think so.
So that's one of those things. It's if you're out there fishing, you kind of leave your worries behind, and even if I don't catch fish, if you're with a good friend who maybe you don't get to see much, or you don't get to get out much, maybe with family members, whether in a boat, on the riverbank, or in an ice house. It's 90% of the time a good time. But I will add one more thing that there's usually one thing to deal with, whether that's cold, whether that's too much heat. I've been out in tournaments over 100 degrees. I've been out below 0. I've been out 50-mile-an-hour winds. I've been out in a lot of rain. I've been where there's lots of bugs. So there's usually something to deal with. But besides that, it's usually a pretty good time.
So basically, this all comes back to cope real life.
Yep, that's right. it's a nice little alternative to get out of it. Yep, it's a good time. And that's fishing's great. It's a good time, but like I said, it can be competitive, and that's where it relates back to sports. Because this could be a hobby like playing marbles or anything else, but the fact that you can be competitive with it is what makes it similar to golf, basketball, hockey, any of those other things. Because we can go out there, you can fish against 10 other people and say who's going to be the best guy out there today. It may not have been me last week, but it's going to be me this week. That's what I said on the last night of fishing. I said I got a good feeling I'm going to catch the biggest fish tonight, and I did, and I won $1,000 with it.
King of the North.
King of the North.
That's awesome. I guess earlier comments with the groups, and you're talking about the YouTube channels, and we are kind of different. North Dakota and the new online, I don't know, platforms and everything. But like, is there like a decent Facebook community or like online community of fishermen in North Dakota? Is like a North Dakota like a tight knit group for fishing, or you have cliques, or you just have to ask your uncle, or is there like actual like this is a great spot to fish here at Devil's Lake, or are people secretive?
I think North Dakota's special in the fact that, and you did talk about online. So with online, I think whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you're gonna find people throughout any state who are gonna have that information, and you'll be able to find that. But I think being next to Minnesota is a huge fishing state. I think that's pretty apparent. But North Dakota being as tight-knit as we are as a state, I think everyone kind of is a little bit of a tight-knit group within. There's magazines that are specific to North Dakota. There's groups on Facebook that are specific to North Dakota. And with our population being as small as it is, I think everyone around the state, between Grand Forks to Bismarck, up to Minot and down to Fargo, are all kind of consider themselves somewhat of a group just because we are North Dakota. We are, a little bit separate from the rest of the country. So that's definitely there is some group and some cliques as far as being in North Dakota. And that's for whether that be catfish, walleye is going to be the big one. So you could search walleye on Facebook, North Dakota, and you're going to find groups of people. For myself, I do a lot of traveling for my job, so I'll travel over to Bismarck or Minot or Jamestown, and I could go online real quick and find whether it be other people, whether it be that bait shop, or whether that be groups to find maybe someone to fish with, or just that information on fishing in that city. And I don't know if that's as much of the case in other states. So that's a positive for North Dakota, I would say.
North Dakota, nice. Applies
That's
to
right.
fishing as
That's
well.
right.
Huh. Um. So covered all the basics. Covered North Dakota. Covered your highlights. Um. I guess what. I mean, was it the? Are you like trying to get to the sponsorship level, or what sparked you creating your YouTube videos? Like, what led to the creation of your YouTube channel? And you had all these highlights. Was it just like going on there to brag, or trying to get sponsored, or
It's a little bit of everything. I don't have the perfect answer for that. I don't know if I want to use the word brag, but I think share my experiences. Some of those fish that I've been fortunate enough to catch, whether it be that $1,000 King of the North fish, I was able to get that on camera. And the reason I had it on camera actually was I had my brother with me, to try to just build those memories. And it was his birthday. So I said, I'm going to set up this camera. Hopefully, I can put my brother on a big fish and have this memory for him. Well, it turned out big fish bit my rod. So, I have that cool memory for myself. And same with, I caught a sturgeon that was over 50 pounds that you have to hold it with two hands long ways. Well, knowing that that was a possibility, I set up some cameras and said, just in case, let's record this. And I think initially when I started doing those videos, and even to this day, my memory isn't great. And I think, when my kids grow up and when I have grandkids, I'm assuming YouTube will still be around. And I think that's just one of those things where whether it's fishing photos or videos, that's going to be kind of a legacy thing and it'll be cool to look back on. And just to capture those moments of catching, a 50-pound sturgeon or a 20-plus pound catfish or I didn't get a video, but, that 300-pound marlin, that's just something that's really cool to capture. But to go back to the why I do those videos, that's part of it is just to capture those memories for myself, to share with my family. And I said, you know what? If I throw it on YouTube and other people learn something from what I'm doing, usually I'll start the video and saying, here's where I'm going, here's my setup, here's my bait, here's my equipment, and here's me catching this monster fish. If you want to do it, here's how to do it. So I think with me just sharing that experience, it doesn't hurt me at all. If anything, it helps other people get out there to do the same. So making those videos, it's not about me making money or making sponsorships. It's about preserving my memories and passing along that knowledge to the next generation.
Wow, pretty noble.
Yeah. And as far as sponsorships goes, I mean, if that's something down the line where, I get a few more big wins, then maybe I can look at that. More realistically, another option besides fishing for a hobby or fishing professionally would be to guide fishing, which is something that I'd be passionate about because I like taking friends and family out.
Yep.
Well, people pay $400-$500 a day to go out to fish with you, and that's more than I make at my job. So if I can
A day, yeah.
get that figured out, then to do something you love every day wouldn't be working. So that's a possibility.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty neat. Maybe I guess if maybe YouTube won't be a thing for like maybe generations, but like you'll have these videos and you have all this stuff, and like maybe down the line your grandkids are watching videos of Grandpa Zach, and they see you catching this big fish, and then boom, they're into fishing, and it's like a family tradition now, pretty much.
That would be pretty cool.
That's cool. Keep the family alive in the fishing. I guess so that's how you started it. It goes from there. Do you have like set goals for the future, or is it just like if it comes, it comes? I know you said that, but is any set goals or plans for the future for
Kind of
fishing?
like what you just
Upgrades?
said. Kind of like what you just said. I think the one nice thing is it is a lifetime goal. I'm not on a clicker. If you're trying to become a professional in football, basketball, soccer, any of those, there's a timeline of where your youth goes away. So that's never been an issue. Obviously, the younger you get into something, the better you'll be. but I don't have high goals or plans. I'm happy with my life, happy with my wife and kid and house and job, and this is a great hobby and it makes me happy. I love to compete. That's why I do the tournaments more so than having that be my future. But with that being said, again, if I do win some tournaments and that does become something that I've proven that I can continue to win consistently, if I'm able to bring in money consistently more so than my job does, then I'd love to fish for a living, of course. Or there's that option C, which is to guide, doing your own business and not working for a company that has benefits and whatnot is a little risky. So that's one of those things. Do you keep doing what you're doing and be comfortable and fish for a hobby, or do you reach for the stars to try to fish every day? But then do you still love it as much if you fish every day for work? You know, that's one of those things.
Yeah.
So I don't have an answer for that. I'm just, like you said, time will tell. We'll see how it goes. But for
Okay.
right now, I'm just going to keep doing my job, living my life, and trying to
I
stack
guess.
some trophies up on the mantle. You know?
Yeah, I guess if that was what I was wondering, if that was actually what you're trying to do, or if you're trying to do trophies and then just let it go where it goes, like that'd be fun, you know. Cool.
Just want to have a trophy to send a picture to my buddy and say, "Check it out, bro." You know.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do your buddies. That's competition. That's the sport right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great interview. I had a pleasure talking with you. This has been
Likewise.
Zach Bernier, and AKA Nodak Zach.
That's right.
Look him up on YouTube. We had the beginning clip that'll give you all the information you need about him. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nodak Outdoors Weekly. My name is Jordan Thompson, signing out.